Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Friday. It's the 26th day of November 2021. I hope you had a healthy and safe holiday, and that everybody in your household is healthy and safe, and that the needs of your household in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field trying to save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage, like leftover holiday garbage, to keep our streets and our sidewalks clean. Blessings also upon those that make deliveries, even during the holidays, for our convenience. Double blessings on those trying to help deliver and rescue boys and girls and men and women, children, teenagers from prostitution, child pornography, sex slavery, human trafficking, pedophilia, and child molestation. Blessings upon these people that suffer these things, that are in these situations, and curses upon the perpetrators that take advantage of these people and put them in these situations or support them being in these situations. Finally, double blessings also on the homeless. In this holiday season, 600,000 men, women, and children, representing approximately 200,000 families, are sleeping on the streets. Blessings upon them and on the millions like them around the world in places like India and the Philippines, for theirs is the kingdom. And blessings also upon those that see such one and are trying their best to help. There'll be a basketball game tonight. The Phoenix Suns are visiting Madison Square Garden to play against our New York Knicks. Phoenix has won 14 games in a row. They could be considered, of course, the hottest team in the NBA right now. It's amazing that they won 14 games in a row and they're still second in the West behind the Golden State Warriors. Isn't that amazing? So they have won 14 straight games. That they would be the hottest team in the NBA. They are also basically one game out from the first place in the West. That's how good the Golden State Warriors are. The Golden State Warriors only have 2 losses, and Phoenix only has 3 losses. And so we're really facing a challenge tonight. The only positive in terms of the challenge that I could see is that they got to lose sometime, right? They got to have an off night. Now, what has happened is Dario Saric hurt himself in the summer, and he's done, I think, pretty much for the year. And then you have a Frank Kaminsky, who is also in their rotation, and he's been out recently. But in spite of that, like we know here in Knicks Nation, sometimes subtraction is better than just addition. In other words, sometimes there is addition by subtraction with regard to rotation and lineup. And I think that's what happened with Phoenix, because they have Jay Crowder from last year, but now JaVale McGee is stepping up and taking some minutes as the backup 5 behind DeAndre Jordan. They give Larry Shamet some minutes behind Devin Booker. They got him in a trade from Brooklyn. Shamet's been traded a couple of times, but he is underrated. He's a tremendous shooter. Again, I think he's a 4-year player in college. I forgot what college he went to, but let me check that. I think he's a 4-year player. And so he was drafted I think he was drafted by the Clippers initially, he was drafted by the Sixers, and then they sent him to the Clippers, and then he was sent to Brooklyn, and then he was traded to Phoenix, and he's a really good shooter. He's 6'4", 190. Wichita State, that's where he come out. Wichita State, same as our guy Ron Burgundy. So he came out of the same college, right? No. I'm sorry, I'm confused. Ron Burgundy went to I think he was in a different school, like Iowa State. That's right. I think Ron Burgundy was in Iowa State. There was another guy we got in the second round, Cleanthony Early, if I'm not mistaken, that came out of Wichita State, if I'm not mistaken. And so, and the last player I remember that we had, aside from Cleanthony Early, who was in the second round out of Wichita State, was a guy named Xavier McDaniel, who we got in the trade, but he went to Wichita State as well. But Larry Shamet come out of that small school. He's 24 years old. So he's like a 4-year player, really good shooter. So they got him in the rotation as well. So they got Larry Shamet in the rotation. Of course, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, your 2 big guns. Mikal Bridges has turned into a revelation. Again, I was hoping we would get one of the Bridges boys. Miles was the guy I wanted, and then followed by Mikal. They ended up taking our boy Kevin. Mikal's turned into quite a player. And part of the reason he's turned into quite the player is because he was developed properly. Our boy Kevin, I think he's been through, and since he has went from Kentucky at age 18, I think he's been through 4 coaches, and different presidents of GMs. I mean, so that dysfunction is a sample of why you can ruin a player like that. And say, so we've seen that in this difference. It's not that I don't really believe Kevin is that much less talented than Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges was handled properly. Okay. And that's the difference to me. He might be slightly less of a basketball player, but it's not tremendous. It's it's not like the difference between, like, say, Michael Jordan and O'Connell, McConnell. That's what I'm saying. It's not like that. There's not that big of a gulf between them. But just how they're handled tells you a lot about what happens to a player's career. So here they got Mikal Bridges, major factor, tremendous defensive player, great spot-up shooter as well. And so you got him, and then Jay Crowder's been a veteran, been around, knows his way on the basketball floor in the NBA. Then, of course, DeAndre Ayton, overall #1 pick from his year. So they got quite a squad. Cameron Payne is coming to his own. They got Larry Shamet, and they're playing McGee, and that's pretty much their rotation. They sometimes play our boy EP, but he don't get a lot of time. But Elfrid Payton is back on that team for his second stint with Phoenix. They drafted Jalen Smith, and he's nowhere to be found. It was a surprise that they drafted him that high anyway. But their rotation is tight. It's really 8 guys with Cameron Payne, Larry Shamet, and JaVale McGee along the starting 5. And they are balling. They balling. They found the formula, and they going with it. So they come into Madison Square Garden, which is actually a negative for us. Say, well, why is that? Well, most of y'all Knick Nation would know. But guys like a Chris Paul, like a Devin Booker, like a Mikal Bridges, like a DeAndre Ayton, like a Larry Shamet, they love to show out at the Mecca. They love these. All visiting players have somebody on their squad that want to show out at the Mecca. Okay, that's just how it is. So it's not, even though our crew gonna have the crowd behind them, it's not like that team is gonna be discouraged by that. They're going to be showing out in the Mecca. So now, for the Knicks, we have Taj, D. Rose, and Mitchell Robinson are all listed as questionable. Mitchell Robinson is listed as day-to-day. Apparently, there is this concussion protocol that he has to go through by the NBA. And Tom said if he finished the protocol by today, he'll go. If not, he won't. So they're listing him as questionable, and they're listing him as day-to-day. I guess they will find out during the course of the day if he'll play. Gibson has a groin issue. They list him status as out, but underneath where it says out, it says listed as questionable for Friday's game. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a game-time decision. I would sit him today, because we got a back-to-back tomorrow. We got to go down to Atlanta and play the ATL tomorrow. Then Derrick Rose is listed as questionable with his ankle. So he might be ready to go. Like I said, he did not play the last game. He's been off this week to give his ankle a chance to heal. And maybe he's ready to go. Maybe he is, maybe he won't. I don't know. We're going to find out. But it is the first game of a back-to-back. It's also interesting. I don't know if Kemba is going to play in both games. This is a back-to-back. He sat out the first back-to-back. He sat out one of the games of the first back-to-back. This past weekend, he played. Maybe because he's getting only like 20 minutes a game, the back-to-back may not mean as much to him because he's not having to grind at 30 minutes at any point. See, so he might play both games, which is, of course, positive and negative. As we're starting to see that the picture's getting a little clearer. This is our 19th game of the season. The lack of ball movement was really hurting Evan Fournier. I think we've seen that. So Fournier's value increases with proper ball movement. That's important to know. So if you want to get the most out of Evan Fournier, which we got last week, Tuesday, which we got against Boston, which we got against Orlando the first time, you must have ball movement in your offense. Something that Tom Thibodeau has been, pushing. Yeah, that's one of his tenets, ball movement. Okay. Between Kemba and Julius, the ball movement can often stop. And again, it doesn't stop. And again, some people get so sensitive, man, when it comes to some of these players. Somebody accused me of harping on or lay off Julius Randle. Like, lay off? What the hell are you talking about? Anyway, it's not like we're harping on them because they scrubbed. When Julius takes more than 2 or 3 seconds or 4 seconds to make a decision with the ball in his hand, it stops the ball movement. That's the problem. Okay? If he was to simply forget the turnovers and forget the low IQ on defense sometimes, if he could simply, when he gets the basketball, make a split decision, either go or give it up. If he could do that, and he did that a lot against the Lakers, but also he reverted back during the course of periods of the game to what we're talking about now. If he holds the ball more than 3 or 4 seconds, the ball movement stops. Not only does it stop, it doesn't start up again when they come down the floor the next time. Okay? People, the starting unit will get into this malaise where they're just either going to watch Julius or watch Kemba. Okay? No ball movement's going on. When the ball is moving, they usually get almost every time an open shot. And that's when your best percentage of a guy like Fournier or a guy like Barrett to score. Okay, so that's going to be a key today. Because Phoenix is not 14 in a row for nothing. They're playing both sides of the ball. They're playing it very strongly, defensively, offensively. They're a really good defensive team, So they're going to play Julius to force him into pounding the ball, for more than just a couple of seconds. And that's going to stop our ball movement. So that's a key. He's got to be able to let go of that basketball one way or another. And it doesn't matter to me, even I don't like him coming down and hoisting threes, beginning of the shot clock. But I would rather that than him come down, pound the basketball and do all his jug moves. And now 5-10 seconds have gone off the shot clock. And then we try to move the basketball and it gets to be an ugly possession. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that notices this. I'm sure the coaching staff notices this. And this is not something that Julius just doesn't see and doesn't understand. He's not stupid, but it's mentally, he just falls into that trap. Okay. So a couple of times he might come down like he did against Anthony Davis, and he might take more than 3 seconds or 4 seconds, but he's making a move. He scores. That seems to encourage him to do a bad thing, which is hold it too long another time. Okay. Whereas when he makes a move and scores, either go strong, and he's been going strong to the hole, a lot the last 4 or 5 games. He's when he does make a move and go to the hole, sometimes he's flushing it on people. And that's really what you want to see. So that's going to be a key. Kemba, I've seen very little ball movement, coming with him on the floor on a consistent basis, because Kemba is a one-on-one player. He really is. So when he's very quick, he's used to beating his man off the dribble because he has that ability to do that. Not because of he's slow to half a step. He cannot finish like he used to. See, that's the difference between him and Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is 2 years older than him, have had multiple knee surgeries. But because of the recovery process of Derrick Rose, his knees are fine. He's not doing what he used to do in terms of dunking on people. He's not doing that as much. But Derrick Rose is every much the finisher that he's always been. And I always say, he's definitely, in the history of the NBA, I would say definitely top 5 as a finisher at the rim. Really, it's amazing some of the things he can do in finishing at the rim. And we've noticed in the last couple of games that has not been the case. And we now know it's because his ankle was sore, right? So I'm hoping, I don't want him to play tonight if his ankle is not 100%. I'd rather have him against ATL tomorrow. We deep enough, as we saw last Tuesday, to play without him if we need to. But to get him at 100% with that kind of finishing ability, we need him. Okay. So Kemba, when he's in there, he pounds the ball too much. And even when he scores with a 2-man game with Julius, he's pounding the ball, he's holding it, and it's just him and Julius, and then he might score. Or he might go to the hole but not able to finish because he's smaller and he's a little bit slower than he was before the knee problems. Okay. So that wastes possessions. It looks nice when he scores. It looks really nice. He crosses somebody, gets to the hole, looks sweet, pretty. We can appreciate that in New York. Or a jumper from the mid-range falls down. But overall, there's no ball movement. And again, when we stop the ball movement, there's like this thing they fall into where they just stop the ball movement. And it doesn't begin again until Mobb Deep comes in. When Mobb Deep comes in, it's a whole nother crew. And the ball movement starts again. Okay. So that's a key here. I'm concerned about Kemba because Julius does it on and off. Kemba does not. He just doesn't. Okay. He's not a big ball movement guy. He gets involved with it sometimes, but if he's coming up with the basketball, you might get a one-on-one move, and then there's no ball movement. Again, it's really good when the Knicks come down and 5 guys touch the basketball before they make a move. No matter what happens, if 5 guys touch the basketball before they make a move, we're in a good shape. That's the beginning of a good possession. Okay. And so I hope they do that a lot tonight. They gotta put pressure on Phoenix's defense so that they use some energy, because offensively Phoenix is also, they rough, man. So defensively, the Knicks have to get after it. Now they've been doing pretty good, recently. They have been. I mean, the defense, I would say, let me look at it here. Let me see. We're looking at the last few games. So last game, they gave up 100 points to the Lakers, 109 to Chicago, 99 to Houston, 104 to Orlando, 84 to Indiana. That's our last 5 games. So I'd say they're doing pretty good defensively. You're talking about, again, 100, 109, 99, 104, 84. And then before that, we lost to Charlotte. We gave up 104. So I think really since the Charlotte loss on November 12th, the defense has picked up. Now they're 3-3 since then. They're 3-3 since that Charlotte loss. They lost to Charlotte. They lost to Charlotte on November 12th. Then they lost to Orlando on November 17th. And they lost, of course, to Chicago last Sunday. But in the interim, they beat Indiana, they beat Houston, and they beat the Lakers. And so the defense has been picking up, pretty good. Of course, now let's think about the big elephant in the room is our first and third quarter. Even like against the Lakers, it was really the second and third quarter. Because the first quarter against the Lakers, they opened up a 14-point lead. And then Mobb Deep came in and that lead went to 25. And then the first unit came back in the second quarter and that lead shrunk to 12. And they continued in the third quarter and LA came all the way back. Okay, and Mobb Deep came in again and won the game for us. So that is something we got to see what happens, because that can be a catalyst, especially you're playing the Phoenix Suns. You don't want a 20-point deficit or 15-point deficit in the first quarter. And these guys will do it to us. So first quarter is going to be telling how many minutes. If Tom, he's been going back and forth. For a stretch, he was playing the first unit for 7 minutes. Kemba would come out at 7 minutes. 5 minutes to go, he starts to put in player-by-player Mobb Deep. Then starting the second half, he started the second half 7 minutes with over the second quarter, 7 minutes with Mobb Deep. And then good 5 minutes. So it was pretty even. But against the Lakers, he played the first unit all the way down to I think he played them 9 minutes in the first quarter. And then started the second quarter with them. That was not a good move. I know he didn't start the second quarter. He started with Mobb Deep. Then he took Mobb Deep out. And they had only played, I think the total amount between the end of the second quarter and the beginning of the third quarter, I think they might have played 8 or 9 minutes. It wasn't that much for them to build that lead like that. It was really quick. So I don't know. I'm hoping he goes back to the strict 7 minutes for the first and second quarter and in the third quarter, and then play whoever's balling in the fourth, as we know he does. That would be better because, man, him messing with the minutes like that really cost us a big lead against the Lakers. I know he's trying to find out, if he can keep this unit out there. And most of us in Knick Nation agree he cannot. He's not going to be able to. But Tom has to make that decision when he makes it. Okay, it's not for us to make it for him. He comes to that conclusion when he does. So it is what it is. But I tell you what, we cannot afford a 15 to 20 point deficit in the first or second quarter against the Suns, who have won 14 straight. We just can't do that. So I want to see what happens tonight. I want to see if any of the three, Taj, Mitchell, or D. Rose, sits tonight. Because if any of them sits, if Taj sits, for example, you're going to see more 5 at the 5 with Julius. If Mitchell sits, the same. And if D. Rose sits, we're going to see another Grimes sighting. That's what that means. So I'd like to see that. And if Kemba decides not to play the back-to-back, we might see a Deuce sighting. So we'll see and that's why I don't mind if they sit, because I want these kids to play, because that can help us win. They can help us beat the Suns tonight. All right. So that's going to be important to see. I want to see the overall defense keep continuing on the forward progress. I'd like to see the first unit not leave us a deficit for Mobb Deep to try to come back from and not give up big leads, because of lack of ball movement. I'd like to see some ball movement, right? We all want to see some ball movement from the Knicks in the first unit. We don't have to worry about the second unit. I'd like to see Obi Toppin play 20 minutes or more today. To me, that's the key. If he plays more than 20 minutes, we have a good shot at winning the basketball game. And so I'd like him to do that. I hope Quickly continues his streak of knocking them down in the fourth quarter. Alec Burks is our money man, and he's always been money in the fourth quarter this whole season, ever since last season. And since he came to the Knicks, he's been money in the fourth quarter. I want to see more of that. So if we do these things, we have a shot. And that's what I mean, a shot. This is where our defense comes in. This is where our ball control comes in, our rebounding. That will give us a shot against anybody. They have to be on point with that tonight because we're playing the hottest team in the NBA. So we're going to come back tomorrow. I'm going to watch the replay of the game tomorrow night. And then I'm going to watch the Atlanta game tomorrow night. And at some point, probably either tomorrow night or Sunday, we'll do a review of these games and see where we are. And we got Brooklyn on Tuesday. So it's going to be a rough one. We know we're in the middle of this schedule. That's rough. So it is what it is. So let's see if our Knicks, which I believe they will, rise to the occasion against the competition and show up tonight to play, coming to compete. All right. We will see what happens. But please, happy Friday to you. Please be safe out there and have a good Friday and a good weekend. Enjoy, but watch your back. Shalom.